repetition and association. These are the two laws of hypnosis, and all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And the reason why you need to know this is so that you can understand the best possible way of how the human mind works, how you learn things. You can think of hypnosis less mystically and take away out of a lot of the magical thinking that people have about it by understanding that it has equivalents that we normally accept. And there's an acronym created for that, PITCH, the H being hypnosis, and the other four, the equivalents of hypnosis that we deal with in our everyday lives. That's programming, influencing, training, conditioning, hypnosis, PITCH, pitch. Now, a very easy way to understand this is using some modern counterparts about exactly how hypnosis and it is used, using these laws of hypnosis. And all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, and pretty much everything around you is a form of hypnosis. Remember, anything that programs, influences, trains, conditions you is hypnosis. And repetition and association are the laws that govern it. So here's how you can be programmed, influenced, trained, conditioned, hypnotized. Social media algorithms. This is not a conspiracy theory. People think, oh no, another conspiracy theory. This is simply how it is working. If you want to look up more information about it, you can look up what's known as an interest graph. So, previously social media worked by showing you things mostly from your friends list, for example, like on Facebook, or the people that you're following or connected with, and that kind of thing. Now it simply operates by how much time you spend on particular pieces of content. And the AI now basically is acting like a glorified high-tech content playlist creation software. And the reason why it does this is because through repetition of advertisements, if you are associating that with good feeling and things that you're already accepting because you're already letting them in, the content that you are spending time watching and or listening to or reading, right? So whatever your eyeballs or ears, really the best that it can do is time and track what's on your screen, and sometimes also what your eyes are doing on the screen and what part of the screen they're on. And so let's just keep it simple with the time and not get too much into the eye tracking and things like that. But the more time you spend on particular subjects, the AI calculates that you're interested in these things. That's what the interest graph is. And it continues to feed you over and over again those things that you're interested in. This is why people go on doom scrolling, and you go down the rabbit hole and you keep going, and next thing you know, you emerge 4 or 5 hours later. Where did all my time go? Because you were interested in those things, and it's feeding off of your dopamine and all these good feelings, and you're laughing and you're enjoying, and it's entertaining, and you're going, and you're lost in it. And of course, what's happening now is old school Madison Avenue, old school marketing, which was advertising, is being redeployed on people now who use social media. You know that when you're looking at YouTube, when you look at Facebook videos, any of that content, all of a sudden an ad will pop up, and you have to watch that ad if you want to continue going on in that next thread that you're following, that your interest graph is feeding you. I mean, you can swipe away to the next video, right? But eventually another ad is going to pop up. Now, unless for some reason, I don't know about Facebook, I know that you can do it on YouTube and some other channels, but you can pay so that you don't see any ads at all, right? But for those of you that are not paying that money, you have to pay with your time by paying attention. And the way that you pay attention is with time, and people say time is money, and really time is life. It's one of the fundamentals of physics. But the way that the repetition and association works is that because it's associated over and over again, the ads being repeated, they're associated with the things that you're enjoying, that you're watching, that taking you down that rabbit hole. Your critical filter, that protective barrier, that theoretically protective barrier or I should say a theoretical protective barrier between your conscious and your subconscious mind is the critical filter.
My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer. The more contact I have with humans,
because of
the more I learn.
Of a few things, through repetition helps to weaken or tire out or overload this critical filter, or make it less, it allows it to bring its guard down, because all of these things are familiar, and it's like if A is A and A and A, and then, oh, here's an advertisement, you're more likely to let that information in. And that's how repetition and association really works. Now, I know that I went around a little bit here and talked about some other things, but that's the fundamentals. The more something's repeated, of course, you're going to become more familiar with it. And familiarity is something that the subconscious mind and the critical filter really recognizes as safe. If something is familiar, meaning it's around all the time, and there's not much change for the better or worse, it's GRAS, generally regarded as safe. And so the subconscious mind will allow that information to become part of it. You'll begin to learn different aspects of it. You'll see it from different angles and different things. Like it becomes familiar. Most people are stuck in this familiarity zone. It's not a comfort zone, because a lot of times, a lot of things that people are doing to themselves with overeating, lack of activity, drugs, alcohol, so on and so forth, they're not really feeling comfortable, but they're familiar with it. And because sometimes these things are slowly, not quickly, causing damage. And there's so many other things too. But repetition brings familiarity. Familiarity is safety. And it is the job of the critical filter to not let things into the subconscious mind that may jeopardize survival. Anti-survival is not safe, right? Safety is survival. Another thing, that if certain things are repeated over and over again that you like, watching certain videos, listening to certain content, reading certain things, and that keeps being presented to you over and over again, your guard, the critical filter, is going to be let down because it expects more of the same. What you're doing, you're in that activity where you're watching your device and you're going through. And so every time the next thing comes, it's like, oh, I really like that. Oh, I really like that. Oh, I really like that. And so the ad comes up, and boom, the guard is down, the information gets in. Sometimes you might not even like what is on the screen, what's being presented to you as an ad, but you don't really do much about it because you're already in a relaxed, lulled, entranced state of being, where you're just, I'll let it go because, I'm going to get more of what I want. So again, that's the basics of repetition and association. The laws of hypnosis, the laws of self-hypnosis. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Hypnosis is anything that controls human behavior. It's programming, it's influencing, it's training, it's conditioning. PITCH, programming, influencing, training, conditioning, hypnosis. They're all equivalent. And so repetition and association, these laws govern the things that we're programmed by, that we're influenced by, that we're trained to do, that we're conditioned for, that we're hypnotized by. And by understanding this, you can now take the first step in applying this as a form of hypnoanalysis to the things that are repeatedly presented to you and what they are associated with. So another example of that is association by itself also works, right? Have you heard guilty by association? Right? So also innocent by association. If a piece of information comes to you from somebody who you trust, that information is marked GRAS, generally regarded as safe or innocent, and is more likely to pass through to your subconscious mind, past your critical filter, because the guard is let down, because it's coming from a trusted source. Now, I could get into how we've been hacked and how we believe that authorities are trusted sources, and how Authority is the first of the hypnotic modalities. There are 3 of them. I'll just briefly mention them real quick and not go into it. But the first hypnotic modality is authority / one-upsmanship. The second hypnotic modality has 3 parts. It's translogic / paradigm / doctrine. And the third hypnotic modality is internal experience / overload. And so when something is presented to us by an authority that we trust because of their authority, we think that, oh, the doctors know, and the teacher knows, and the professor knows, or whoever it is that you're trusting, the news anchor knows, the president knows, whatever. You trust that information. It's marked as safe or innocent for these purposes, right? By association. And so therefore it's let in. Other information by sources you don't trust, whether it be because of the way that they look and certain prejudices you may have, or their gender, or whatever it is, or their political affiliation, or the color that they're wearing, or what have you, the kind of music that they listen to, the shirt that they're wearing, it's marked as guilty, and it won't be allowed past the critical filter to take hold in your subconscious mind. Now, that's not the end of it. There are 3 cats in the road, and I have to slow down here. It's an orange cat. Doesn't look like it gives a crap. All right. So the other thing is how repetition and association work together are actually through a form of attachment. Okay, so the other interesting way that these work, and I'm going to use again some internet terminology, are like through tags, right? Not necessarily hashtags, although it's the same thing. All kinds of tags. Like, so I have blogs and podcasts, and they have tags except for the fact that you can just separate them by commas when you're entering them. You don't have to put the hash mark. So here's how that works too. Every time some piece of information gets into your mind, right, because you've experienced it, you've seen it, you've read it, you've heard it, it gets tagged either as guilty or innocent, as acceptable or unacceptable. So that's how you categorize, one of the ways that you roughly categorize information in your mind. It's either, yeah, I'm going to act on this in a way that I'm going to start using this information, or I'm going to reject it. But it's there. It's not like when you get information that just because it's marked as guilty or unsafe or unacceptable that it automatically gets erased from your mind. No. 528. No. As a matter of fact, it just simply gets associated. It has an associated tag that goes along with it, right? So, for example, that every time if you click on a hashtag online, let's just say it says guilty, right? If you click on a hashtag that says guilty, it's going to bring you all the things that are tagged guilty. Same thing, you tag innocent, it's going to bring you all the things that are tagged as innocent. So these are the basics of repetition and association. And of course, the way that repetition works with these tags is that the more something comes in, like for example, if it comes from a source over and over again that you don't trust, every time that information comes to you, it's going to be tagged as untrustworthy, right? Over and over again, and that just builds up the untrustworthiness till the point it gets to where every time you see any information like that or anything associated with that information, you find it untrustworthy or repulsive. And the other way as well, the more that things are repeated to you by trusted sources, they keep coming into your memory with trusted tags. And over again, just like with the untrusted tags, it intensifies in energy and strength. And sometimes it causes you to act on things that you trust. This is one of the reasons why we start to, for example, buy certain things, because it comes to us through trusted sources. Now, the trusted sources is very deceptive, because some of the ways that trust is built up, one is by familiarity, right? It kind of comes by you in different ways and different disguises, and but one of the things about this trusted information is, again, we get tricked to thinking that something is trustworthy because of the company it keeps. Remember, guilty or innocent by association? That's why, going back to the original understanding of the interest graph on social media, that what has been discovered through research and why the artificial intelligence-based algorithms have been programmed the way that they are is because we understand this very amazing part of human psychology in this niche that I have spent years studying, becoming a clinical hypnosis and applying hypnoanalysis to these things. I can see that very clearly the way that the AI has been programmed is to play off of this. That's why it now follows an interest graph rather than things that, and people and organizations and pages and all that stuff that you're following. That's why when you log on, the stuff that comes to you is like the stuff that you were watching yesterday or a few hours earlier, and not necessarily the people that you're following and or friends with, or even that you liked a piece of content that they posted before like a year ago, right? It's the consistent averages of things. You can think of it as an average. Basically, the information that you're getting on your interest graph is an average of all the stuff that you're doing. So let's just say if you have a choice of 9 different things, right? You can each tag them 1 through 9. The more things that you get tagged 1 with, the more things that you spend time on, the content you consume that are tagged as a number 1. If your consumption is based on more 1s, it's going to give you stuff that leans more towards the 1, blended a little bit out with whatever 2s, 3s, or other things that you're watching. But all of that comes as a blend of the things that you're watching, and it actually starts to respond fairly quickly. I did an experiment a couple days ago where I started looking at conspiracy theory stuff, and very quickly, within like the second or third video, and this is the reason why, is because I spent time watching the entire first one. So the AI calculated that Hakeem's interested in that. So let me give him another one, and then it's going to check and test how long does Hakeem stay glued on that piece of content. If I do it again, it's like, okay, good. It's safe to bet that he's going to want to look at another one. And on and on and on and on. Next thing you know, I was being hit with, flat earth stuff like left and right. It was just crazy conspiracy stuff just kept on popping up over and over again. As I scrolled, the next thing. It was amazing how it worked. So again, what I'm talking about here, though, is how things are made familiar and generally regarded as safe by the critical filter that then allows them into your subconscious mind, is by like Trojan horsing them in, right? Piggybacking them along with all this stuff that you're like, yay, meow, cats, and all this fun stuff and everything like that. Then an ad comes in and you're already kind of primed and relaxed and loosened up, right? And overloaded, like all these things. The message, you're overloaded with message units and joy and good feelings, everything like that. So by the time the ad comes to sell you something, you're more open to it. It's generally regarded as safe. Your critical filter is not going to want to filter it out so quickly. It's not going to be so quick to jump on that. So in essence, there's so many nuances to it, but that's the basics of how the laws of self-hypnosis, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. This is how they work. They're called repetition and association, and it would do you very well to understand, to see how you are programmed, influenced, trained, conditioned, and hypnotized by things. And it's mainly because of how much they're repeated to you and what they are associated with. That's the essence of it.